That's right. We still don't have a theme song, so we're still going to the cow zoo. In fact, I think I will just keep doing the cow zoo because it makes me happy. And this is Happiness Patrol, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, we've got one new person in our panel today who did not know I was going to do that and just shook her head. It wasn't quite the same reaction as it was backstage last month, but it's still fun. So, welcome everybody to Happiness Patrol, where we do things that make us happy, including a cow zoo. We decided to start off with Star Trek. No, wait, we didn't, did we? We decided to start with Star Wars. Oh, I'm getting more head shakes in the back. It is great. Yes, I'm a little bit of a troll. That's okay. I can okay. Hold on. We're just gonna bring Melanie on right now. There we go. We're changing the topic. It's now Star Trek 2. And
wait.
Wait.
Yeah, you said sorry. Star Wars.
Right, we're doing Star Wars.
So this is a very refined, finished podcast stream thing.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Well, welcome, Melanie. Hi. Melanie Dean, amazing artist, friend of the show, friend of several shows that I work on.
With him, so I like this.
Yay!
Is awesome.
I'm happy to have you back. You weren't around.
I love being here, and hopefully I can come back as many, many times as you would like, because I miss chatting with you and chatting about the things that we like watching and entertainment and everything in the world, and going off the rails because it's fun.
We'll try to stay vaguely on the rails because I try to keep the show to an hour. So we're going to try and stay at least a little bit on the rails.
We're praying like hell.
Or at least in sight of the rails. Cheers to that. I've got my Loth Cat.
Okay, that's good. At least it got the...
I figured for this episode specifically, it should be the Loth Cat, since we get the Loth Cat in episode 2. Eating our stars. Who else do we have back here? But also from Florida, the other end of the continent. Hello, Miss Jess, who's on mute because you were eating something.
Ice.
It's a Melanie.
Hi.
Melanie's usually the one who gets brought up while eating, but this time it's you.
It's me. I'm an ice chewer. I was trying to be not rude.
That's okay. I didn't even notice when I pulled you up. I just kind of pulled the next person in line on the.
I'm just glad I had something pop up, so I clicked something, and then like this whole thing went away, and I was like, "Where is it?" And then you were like, "And the other person from Florida," and I'm like, I found it. It's all good.
Oh, the wonderful Jedi Jess. I miss you.
I miss you too.
Well, now let's see who else returning. We have Scott. Hi, Scott.
Hey, I'm here. I like you a little less than Jess, I think.
That's fair. I like me a little bit less than Jess. So, Jess is wonderful. Yeah.
Everyone there you go.
More than me.
It's fair.
I like you a little more.
We'll just switch this over there. Jess can host the show, and
all right, welcome to Star Wars Talk, where we talk about Star Wars. Woo!
Woo! We can't do that yet. We can't do that yet because we still have to bring in Cameron. Hey, Cam, how's it going?
Hello.
We got 5 of us this month.
Full house. It's great.
Full house, exactly. I'm so happy to have all of you guys here. You having a good day?
Yes, busy, good.
I've been trying to record this episode for about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks now, and this is when we got together. So this is why we're doing pre-recorded episodes, not live episodes, folks at home, because we are all super busy human beings. But as Jess pointed out, it is Star Wars talk, not Star Trek talk, not Doctor Who talk, not Scott talk.
Oh, okay.
Well, there'll be some Scott talk.
Thanks, everyone.
But we're specifically talking about Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. We are continuing with our Episode 2, matching up with Star Wars Episode 2. And yes, this we all have. But what are you knitting, by the way, Jess? Anything in particular?
Yes. I have a friend that is expecting, and she's a Star Wars friend. So I'm making a blanket with the rebel symbol.
Oh,
Very nice.
It's in the early
nice.
stages, so there's nothing fun to watch, like look at.
Knit or crochet?
You got an hour.
Crochet. I apparently am too stressed to knit.
That's why I crocheted.
Couldn't figure out why
like
it was always too tight, and everything I read was like, "You're just stressed. Just relax." It didn't help.
No.
It's supposed to chill you out. It's supposed
Yeah,
to.
so crochet it is.
Well, next month, if you have already given it away, make sure we have a picture so we can show it off.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
but as pointed out, yes, we are talking about Attack of the Clones, episode 2, and our memories of it. What makes us happy about it?
Why we just finished watching it because she knew she was about to do a show. She needed a refresher. And saw all new things.
You only watched one version of it? Cam, how many versions of this did you watch?
I watched three versions, and then one that is just one of those things where they try to put all the prequels into one movie. And those never work, but I was curious about it, so I did watch that. So I guess
Melanie's a slacker. She only watched one.
No, I saw one called A Vengeance in the Force where they take all three and put it together.
Yeah, that's the one I watched. Yeah,
I haven't watched it yet. I haven't. I actually had to look at my other monitor to be like, is that the name?
All of those rely very heavily on the idea that you already know what happens in every scene that they cut out. I don't think you could ever show it to someone who's never seen Star Wars and have them go, "Oh, this is a cohesive piece of work." It relies very heavily that you kind of know what's going on. It pulls their favorite parts.
You're saying that, and I'm making a face because I'm wondering if Attack of the Clones, which I heard is what we're going to talk about, I'm wondering if you could start there.
I wouldn't, but that's me.
Well, like if you took like a fresh, not Star Wars person, could you start there? It'd be like, or like Saving Private Ryan, where do you have to know there's a war before this, and then that's what we're coming into, or?
That's a very good question.
I suppose you could, but you could also start with 4, and you could also start with 7.
I think a lot of it started with 4.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's probably a lot of good starting points, but if you want the full story, I think I'm such an episode 1 fan.
It's true. It's
never
true.
skip it.
Well, what? And I mean the Topher Grace cut does start almost with episode 2. It starts with the final battle with Qui-Gon and Darth Maul.
Yeah,
so
which again, there's sort of a Star Wars tradition of just like throwing you into the middle of a battle, and like that's how there's bad guys and good guys and what's happening, and then they kind of tell the story from there. So I understood kind of what they were thinking of with that, but at the same time, that cut is just like action, and it just goes, well, they know the story, so we don't need to tell it in this version.
And there is a lot of action in this particular episode.
There is, yes.
Well, like, and especially when you look at it, when you mention all this, we started with Star Trek, and I'm wondering if the amount of action that ends up being in Star Wars is one of the differentiation. But as we record this, a TV series just ended that has almost no action, and it's all talking. And so I'm not sure if I know what I'm talking about when I bring this up. I'm just musing.
I mean, that was Andor. We don't have to hide the fact that was Andor. We're just trying not to go off the rails and talk about an Andor for an hour.
I was going to say, you spelled episode 2 Andor wrong.
There will be Andor episodes, I imagine.
I'm sure.
We'll see what happens down the road because there's lots of it. Melanie, what are your thoughts on Attack of the Clones? Because I know you're a clone fan in general.
Oh no, I absolutely. I'm a prequels fan in general. Like I am. Well, it's It's sad that about 20 years ago you had to say that you were a prequels apologist because you went in there and you liked the film, and watching it live in the theater, you had no problem remembering everyone clapping and everyone freaking out. And my God, the screams when Yoda got his lightsaber during this movie.
Mhm.
Everybody just freaking out. Because it was like one crescendo. It popped first when he took the coat off, his Jedi robe off, and you realize, is he cut? What is that? And then the lightsaber goes on, and then that Miss Piggy, Kermit the Frog scream, and he's Sonic the Hedgehogging all over the place against freaking Count Dooku. And I remember the entire audience going nuts, which is, again, kind of hilarious how after the fact everybody I ever talked to said they hated it in the theater. And I'm going,
Not in my theater.
which theater were you in? Because I remember everyone having fun and loving it until all you morons started talking to one another and realized it's cooler to hate things. So, bleh. No, I like prequels. I like the prequels. I love the Attack of the. I like this one. I like that we started getting our first time of one Yoda and seeing Jedi can be badass fighters, and not just in the mall. Because I know you guys already talked about episode 1. Having fun with the war. We're actually seeing wars in Star Wars, not just dogfights in flight. We're actually seeing ground war, like when they bring when the clones are introduced towards the end, and they bring one of the spaceships, so one of the Trade Federation balls, like the Lucreholt Center, comes down, and then it hits, and you see that dust cloud, and just that scene where the camera's low, and you're getting all the troopers from like their hip level, and they're walking, and it's all the lasers and all the noise. That was amazing. We had never seen that in Star Wars, unless maybe if you count a game, but even then the gaming wasn't there just yet. This, I think, was the precursor for everyone to go, oh, we should do this in Battlefront. Oh, we could do this in Star Wars The Old Republic. I mean, yeah. So I love this movie. I love what this movie instilled in a lot of people when it came to creativity and having more fun with it. Yeah, I can point to some of the dialogue and go, George, seriously? What the heck is this? Sir? But I'm watching Space Wizards, and this is amazing. And now clones. So let's go. I love this movie.
Cam, you said not in your theater. Did you mean the hate part was not in your theater, or
no?
you
Yeah,
didn't get the happy screen?
Same experience as Melanie. Like, our theater went crazy. Again, we had a little bit of a high school reunion. So we had like another like 30, 40 people together to watch it. It was at the point where you could finally buy your tickets ahead of time online, but you couldn't book your seats. So we still had to, we didn't line up for days and days like we did on episode 1. But we did. I remember I was on a Hallmark miniseries, and when I took the job, I said, I got to take May 19th off. And they were like, okay, yeah, no problem. I didn't say why. But then that morning, we went to the theater really early. We lined up. We got interviewed again on the news, and we got in there, got great seats, watched the movie, enjoyed it. And then when I went to work and everyone was asking me about the movie, the producers were not happy that I took a day off to go watch a movie. But it was a full day event. It was a big event. It was basically a high school reunion at the school I went to doesn't really do reunions, so that was sort of, our chance to get everyone together. And then we got together again, spoiler alert, for episode 3, and even as far ahead as Rise of Skywalker, and like right through, we've got this same group pretty much back together every time. And so it's always special when a Star Wars comes out. And this is... It's one of those ones that when I go back and watch the prequels, I always kind of think, oh, episode 2 is maybe my least favorite. But then at the same time, and this is hard to say, like hard to articulate, but I think it might be the best movie of the 3. Because because episode 1 sets it up and episode 3 is a big payoff, that episode 2 has that middle, sort of like how people think Empire is the best movie of the original trilogy. Episode 2 really had to tell a story and really get you through these characters and set up the idea that Palpatine is playing both sides and building this war. So I think as far as movies go, it might be the best. Even though, and again, I'm like, oh, it's not my favorite, but then so many of my favorite things are in it, like Yoda's lightsaber and the musical cue when Shmi dies and Anakin is swelling with hate and the violins are going.
Yep.
I don't know if there's a better musical cue other than, like obviously Duel of Fates is amazing, but that tag is unbelievable.
Look at that Duel of the Fate. The Duel of the Fate starts playing again when Anakin's on his speeder going to Shmi. Yeah, so it's showing again he lost his father figure because that was part of the fate of whether Qui-Gon or Maul was going to go on the first time. Now it's his mother, his action, like mother figure. His mom's about to be, and this is the next part where Fate's kind of going, you're going to get screwed up, son.
Absolutely.
As we record this, not to interrupt, I'm happy you brought that up. There's been a lot of discussion recently about some of the events that happened in the third episode of season 2 of Andor. If you haven't watched it, I'm not gonna lie, it's rough, and we know those who have know exactly what I'm talking about. And there was discussion whether it needed to be in Star Wars, but when you get to Shmi, I don't think they just kidnapped her. Like, she's tied up to something. Like, I don't want to get into it. It's a rough, touchy subject. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they just kidnapped her. And so there's been a dark side to Star Wars this entire time. And I don't know if it's like it's supposed to be this fantasy. And we're supposed to, like, we talk about ketamine Baneblade Yoda. I'm on board with that. I think that's great. And I think that was one of the reasons why is because Frank Oz was not Yoda at this time. Like, we had a CG Yoda, so we could, within the constraints, especially of the time. Nowadays, puppets are amazing, Cameron, mm-hmm. and all that stuff. But like, even so, we couldn't do that. I don't think without heavy CGI pulling out, puppeteers and stuff. So that was part of it. I remember there being a lot of controversy, but I liked it. Everything was CGI in the first one, so having a little more.
And to that point, I mean, amazing miniatures in episode 2 and 3 as well. But like Camino, all miniatures, beautiful, and Geonosis, gorgeous miniatures all through that. And Attack of the Clones, I'd like to let Jess jump in too here a minute. But last thing I'll say for now is it love it or hate it or like the look, hate the look. It's a fully digital cinema movie. They shot the whole thing with digital cameras for the first time, and almost no movies are shot on film now. It revolutionized the whole game. When, like I said, that Hallmark miniseries I was on at the time, I was counting short ends, and we were ordering film, and we had different film stocks, and it was always a panic of, do we have enough film, and are we, every shot, if it runs long, you're running out of film. The film runs out halfway through a take, and you have to shut the actors down and be like, sorry guys, and like just all these little mathematic things that you had to do in post-production. And then when they do episode 1, it's the idea of transferring everything to digital so that you can do an effect shot in virtually every shot, and then transferring everything back to film. And this is like, let's shoot it on digital. And it's, obviously George gets a lot of credit for innovation, but I don't know that he gets enough credit for every little innovative step he makes, because he changes the whole universe every time.
When he decided to shoot on digital, I specifically remember an interview, and I know it also was printed in a book somewhere in this room, where he was speaking about, to your point, like, everything's going to be digital. It's easier to do if I shoot it on digital, it's going to be, I could do my digital effects, blah, blah, blah. And people were like, oh, so And I remember the interviewer had flat out asked him, oh, so it's going to be easier then to transfer it to DVD or Blu-ray, or at that time HD DVD. That was back when those two were fighting for supremacy. And he just looked at it and went, no, that's not the future. People are going to be just downloading these things. And I remember the interview going, what? They're not going to digitally download? He already had called that.
Yeah.
So what do we do now?
Jess, jump in here. What was some of your favorite moments of Attack of the Clones?
Honestly, I feel like Attack of the Clones, the main thing with this film is it was the beginning and end of an era in its own way, in the way that it's written, in the way that it was produced, like every single aspect of it, because, episode 1 felt like a reinvention, and it was like, okay, so we've got a lot of politics going on, but we're gonna like reset this whole thing. But with this one, just the way that they did the tone, the way that they did it, just everything with it, there's so many moments where you feel yourself because you know where this is going. And I think this film does like the foreshadowing so well. I mean, we're talking about the Tuscans and everything like that, and even the big widescreen of seeing the clones at the very end of the film, it's just, you feel that sinking feeling, which I know we say, what do we love? But I also, Star Wars is pain. If you're not hurting by the time that you walk away from it, did Star Wars really do it right? But I think that's what this film does so well, is it gives you that foreboding feeling so well in so many different moments and different ways, where there's that confusion of like, wait, am I okay with these moments? Because like Anakin's mom was in a really bad place. Who wouldn't have been angry in that moment? But also like we hear a Vader theme, we're hearing these themes, and it's like, oh crap, this is big. And it's the first time, I know we were saying like the first time you're seeing like a war in Star Wars, but it's the first time you're seeing an all-out brawl with the Jedi. This is the first time we ever see them where it's not just a 1v1, 2v1 type
the
thing.
Death Wall.
But also it might be the most lightsabers we ever see on screen. Like it's literally a war with the Jedi, as you point out. Like it's massive. I can't think of too many other times, or at least on like in games that happens.
In games, yeah.
Maybe when Anakin turned Vader attacks the temple might be the only other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's going in, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that is off screen, but
yeah.
But yeah, it's the most that you see, and that all of that on Geonosis and everything is brilliant. And I love the adherence to culture. I think what Attack of the Clones does really well is culture, because what a lot of people don't know, and I loved, as much as there are gripes with Book of Boba Fett, I loved the fact that they really delved into the Tuscan culture, because what people don't know is those mushrooms that she was picking off of the moisture evaporators, those are sacred. Those are considered like the natural places of life because they have water in them. And on a planet like Tatooine, you don't have water, and Tuscans don't have big machines and everything like that. So when you find mushrooms, that is like a gift from the gods. Like that is a beaut. Like, so Shmi is out there picking off these little mushrooms that are like, oh, they're pulling water out of our machines. And it's so colonist coded, actually. And you don't even realize it, of Shmi just going like, oh, these things are a nuisance. They're taking water from our, moisture evaporators that are pulling the moisture out of the air. And these are sucking up the moisture from the machines. So we need to pick them off. But for a Tuscan to witness that and know they're on Tuscan land because it's a farm in the middle. Yeah. They're seeing her disgrace something that they believe is sacred. So this isn't just like a random act of violence. Like they believe that she desecrated something they valued first. And that's something that I think is just they hit some of that cultural stuff, and a lot of that is expanded upon in the novelizations and things like that. But just having those little notes in there where they have those key points, and then if you know, but it's beautiful. And with the Geonosians and the language, with the way that they speak, I thought they did just cultural submersion between Naboo, Geonosis, and Tatooine. Just I love going to different planets and seeing the different cultures.
And it explains why there's no handrails on the Death Star, because it was designed by animals that fly, or a culture that flies. So they don't need they don't have handrails. So
it's like, why would we need that?
Why would you need that? If you fall, you just fly.
I thought it was built by Wookiee slaves.
Well, but designed by
I'll give you. Well, actually, I think it was built by Cassian Andor and his prisoner friends, but we won't go there.
A lot of prisoner.
Designed by, I'll give you that.
Yeah, and Wookiee, and definitely Wookiee slaves, which explains, again, jumping ahead to episode 4, why no one really balks when they're walking around with Chewbacca in the handcuffs, walking through the hallways. Not one person goes, "What's that guy doing here?" It's because there was probably floors and floors and floors of the Death Star that were, prisoner Wookiees, and so Luke probably killed a lot of them. But anyway, we'll move on to that. But.
Well, Wookiees are not known much for. They can do manual labor, but they're actually known for, like the coding and like the engineering parts.
I'm gonna have to push back on that. I've heard they're known for ripping the arms out of
when they
lose.
So I think we should.
I was also thinking the mining in Kessel from the spice mines from Solo.
That's because they last longer than other species.
They're pretty much like Boxer from Animal Farm. Like, we just kind of like, you're big and you're strong, we're gonna put you to work.
Yeah. But that's why them being really good with tinkering and engineering and having like a very mechanical mindset, I think counters what their build is, which is why I love that they're so intelligent, but they're not used for intelligence most of the time.
You see it in the other movies too. It's always Chewbacca working on the Millennium Falcon. Like he's on when they're sitting in Hoth, to skip ahead, he's on the thing when Han Solo's going to go look for Luke. He's
3PO needs put back together.
Yeah, they're incredibly smart, and they get very little screen time outside of the end of episode 3, the holiday special, and I said it, and and like pretty much Chewbacca, right? Some Han Solo, but it's always in the expanded stuff, which rest its soul, and all that stuff. But like, episode 2, I think one of the reasons why I feel like it's better love than episode 1 is, and we didn't talk about it. I briefly brought up Jar Jar Binks, but looking back, I watched it again after we chatted. Episode 1 holds up. I'm an episode 1 guy. I actually really like it. I think all 3 of them are really good. I think our expectations at the time were very different, because you can still see, and you don't hear this, C-3PO get his head knocked off for a B-1 unit in the Geonosian factory is very slapstick, Three Stooges type stuff, and no one talks about it. Like, it's nowhere. I don't think it's any worse than any of the Gungan stuff. You have this focal point that is showing off the industrialness of the Geonosians through this like slapsticky, almost like Charlie Chaplin in the what's it called, the machine one where he gets trapped. It's like Hard Time or Overtime or something like that. But like, you're seeing this whole thing around this little slapstick gag, but you also have Padme, who's really having some issues at the same time, right?
Yeah. I think what sold it for me though, and the difference with the Gungans, is his little one-liners of "I'm beside myself." Wait, what? And so For me, it was
and those both were right next to each other because it was this is such a drag, and then it cut to the next one, which was him again. So the two lines of dialogue that were butt up against each other were pun after pun, which that was the only time I was like, maybe one would have been better than the other.
Yeah.
Because then
when we're talking about people hating on it.
See, I love the puns.
No, it's part of Star Wars. But
I feel like we didn't get that with the Gungans.
Yeah. No, and it's with Gungans you have.
I feel like if we had some more puns with the Gungans, it would have been better.
Well, because you have Jar Jar shows up whenever anything's farting or stuns his tongue or whatever. Like he himself is a pun as he walks through from scene to scene to scene.
He definitely gets shuffled out in episode 2 a little bit.
It's a rubber chicken.
Kind of starts in on the Jar Jar thing, and they're like, "Oh, we don't want to hold you up, Jar Jar," and they kind of get him off. And they're definitely, you could feel a climate of Jar Jar's not going to lead us through the next 2 movies. He's going to perform his function, the War Measures Act and all that. We can still add him into the mix, but it's not like when Steve Urkel took over Family Matters and suddenly the show wasn't about the family, it was all about Steve Urkel. Like Jar Jar didn't steal the show and keep going, which is positive, I think, for everybody.
I would like to point out to the audience, some of you are on there, Family Matters was a TV show on cable.
Oh.
Cable used to be what came to your TV before you turned on Netflix.
I wanted to mention too about sound design, and I think the sound design in episode 2 is maybe the best in any of the. Obviously, the original they innovated everything, but of everything that's come since, I think it's maybe the best. The seismic blasts. Is there anything better than the seismic blast?
No sound.
Yeah. And then the Geonosians. Little slime guns, and even the noises made by the pods in the opening Coruscant chase, as they howl, the siren-y howl as they go down through all the traffic, and the animals in the Gladiator Stadium on Geonosis. I just think it's just. Every scene, there's just these amazing moments of sound design and music.
But in episode 1, actually, up until this point, outside, because we didn't get Clone Wars yet, them chasing the assassin is the most we've ever seen of Coruscant.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're seeing how big this is. You're
seeing ground level or near ground level.
And it's not
really landed before.
And it's not contrived. There's a reason they're there. And this is again like the factory in Geonosis. You're seeing this world through, but we're focusing on this. Like, hey, kind of this is what we're focused. But look at all this world building that has occurred. That like if you want to, the thing with Star Wars is. You can point at almost anything like a blaster shot on the wall, and there's a story, and there's a whole universe there. The Star Wars always feels lived in, and I don't think that's just because it's a little gritty and things are a little. But I think it's because there's a reason why things are where they are and how they are, and it could be pretentious to think this way, but we tend to find out. Some way. I was reading an article today about Yoda's species name. The theory right now is his name is Jedi, it's GE whatever dash apostrophe DII. There's a lot to back it up, and it's a Reddit theory. Don't get me wrong here, but like
I love headcanon. You were talking about Shmi being kidnapped, and I've always kind of had the headcanon that Palpatine is involved in that.
I think so.
At some point, he needs to get Anakin churning up with these feelings of anger, and it's all orchestrated to lead him towards that. And I could absolutely see that being the case, but we're not there yet.
The way I see it is he overhears Padme and Anakin talking, and he's like, that Anakin guy doesn't like sand. Where's the sand in the universe? Oh, I know. His mom's also there too. Let's 2-for-1 this one. And so, don't shake your head. It's Star Wars. It could have happened.
One of the other versions I watched, one of the fan edits, is the HAL 9000 cut, and I highly recommend it. A lot of what it does in that cut is really pushes Padme's story to the forefront. It starts out with some deleted scenes after the attack on the platform with her beautiful chrome ships. It goes right into the Senate with her pleading that, like, hey, someone's trying to kill me. We need to get to the bottom of this. And they're trying to, and they're not trying to kill me to kill me. They're trying to kill me to kill this vote. And I understand why they cut it out, because after the criticisms on episode 1, we're not going to dive right into the Senate on episode 2, but it does help. And then they also add a bunch more scenes of her and Anakin with her parents on Naboo, meeting her sister, spending more time in that relationship. And the one thing I noticed this time when I watched it that I maybe never really clocked before was that they cut out any hesitation between Anakin and Padme. It just builds, when she kisses him, she doesn't do that, oh, I never should have done that thing. They just go with it, and then they cut away to the next scene. And you really feel like, oh, they are building something. They're building this relationship in the background of all these things happening. And I really appreciated that of that cut. So I highly recommend that. It's HAL 9000. Does a lot of great fan edits.
You mentioned that. One of the ones I realized while watching another TV show is how Star Wars always seems to focus on like Darth Vader. Let's be honest, the Skywalker. But if we had more of a Padme forward for the prequels, Mon Mothma for the in between kind of, and then you have Princess Leia for the last ones, and then we have Rey for the like. We have there's an abundance of strong female characters in Star Wars, like, and it's like a plethora, we'll say, but it always gets overshadowed by lightsabers and Vader and all that stuff. But I actually, why I thought this was because the same actress, whatever, but she's in a deleted scene from where she shows up to talk about the Senate and Padme going to the Senate and being like all this, like, it's incredibly, like, not too
kind of the seeds of the rebellion in that.
I really feel it starts with her. But when we look at how it mirrors our current political climate, where we have these strong female politicians or activists who are really trying to stand up, and Star Wars has always had that. This like, you can look up to
right from that first scene in A New Hope when Darth Vader comes in and is the scariest thing anyone's ever seen before, and then Leia just walks right up to him and sasses him like, fake British accent.
Don't scare me. She was 2 seconds away from like hitting the light bright on his chest, being like, which one of these turns you off?
And you get that sense with her immediately, and then it carries throughout the whole.
And I feel it in Padme at times, and some of the deleted stuff really shows it a lot more.
There's another scene they slot in where her and Anakin are being interrogated by Dooku on Geonosis, and it's that same idea. She's standing up to him and representing the Senate against the Separatists in that meeting, and then it's sort of like, oh well, I'm not going to be able to help you get out of this kind of thing, and that's all pre going into the gladiator.
Yeah,
but yeah,
even in the arena, she's holding her own.
Oh, absolutely. She seems to be on top of things. Yeah.
Literally.
More good puns.
I love those puns.
Yeah.
So
You mentioned that we kind of get some of the seeds of the rebellion, and I think that's one of the neat things about this is partly because it was a prequel, it really fed a lot of seeds. We got those seeds of the rebellion. We got an anchor for the Clone Wars, which developed, I mean, again, reverse engineered, but in theory, developed forward into the Stormtroopers and all of that. We get Boba Fett's origin and Jango Fett and that whole little sub story. and that comes back around when they bring back Tamora Morris back in for Boba Fett as a much older character, and we get all of these little seeds and anchors points that we don't get in really any of the other films, not in nearly that much, right? We get new droids that reappear throughout the rest of the series. We've got 3 animated series that anchor back to this. Clone Wars, Bad Batch,
Rebels, and
Rebels.
Rebels to certain.
Yeah.
So like,
and Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And Sith.
Because that's specific to this one.
Yeah.
When Dooku mentions Qui-Gon, wishing that he had Qui-Gon to talk to, getting Tales of the Jedi and going, or was it Sith? Tales of the Sith.
Tales of the Sith.
Was it Tales of the, okay. And that's going back to this one, because then you realize how much, if Qui-Gon was still there, that when Dooku is talking to Obi-Wan and saying, and Obi-Wan's like, no, Qui-Gon would have never done that. And I'm kind of like, no, Qui-Gon would have probably been okay with it, but not to the point where Dooku clearly thinks he can take over and be the Sith and then bring everything where his the ideal place where he wants to be. No, Qui-Gon would have tempered Dooku back to where he needed to be, but not over in the Jedi area.
Yeah, not the
mentioning this is the interesting thing about how Palpatine is so outside of all of this. Like you talk about, like Dooku, who past mentor falls, but is still in Obi-Wan. We have the Vader Obi-Wan thing, like Anakin, and you can tell they're foils of each other. Like sorry, Anakin, Obi-Wan. Yeah, I got that right. First I thought I said Vader, Anakin. Spoilers. You talk about this, like there's a flow and balance to the Force, either yin or yang, and all this stuff. And then Palpatine is just so outside of this, puppet master and everything. Like, and you really start to feel that here. I think it really comes to a head in episode 3 when Dooku looks to him and goes, "Help me," and then he loses his head. I didn't do that. Like you saw it, whatever. And it's like it really feels like he's like this, like a force in his own outside of the Force, really manipulating every piece of everything.
And you can see him because he's building both armies, right? He's building this army to come at this army, and he's kind of creating this chaotic world where they're going to need emergency powers, and there's gonna be consequences to these forces all coming together.
He's thinking the Jedi are going to have their heads up their asses so far that they're thinking, oh, the Sith have been gone for millennia. Oh, there's no way a Sith could be over everything. There's no way. Oh, we need a war. That he's planning that they're going to be so that when all of a sudden the Separatists are starting a war, you're going to have to take this brand new army that I was able to be an architect for. Oh.
And Dooku spells it all out for them too. Like
he does when he says, "You want the truth," and he tells Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's like, "That's not really." And then even Yoda's like, when Obi-Wan tells Yoda and Windu what Dooku told him, and they're just saying, "No, he's just dealing in mistrust and trying to make us not trust." I'm like, yeah, he's doing that by telling you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't get revisited, actually, this idea, until episode 8. DJ is on the ship, the Slicer, and he's showing the, like, hey, look, we're selling to both sides here. Like, it's not, we don't care who wins as long as the check cashes.
There's money to be made.
Yeah, and that's and yes, Palpatine doesn't. I don't think he wants power, not money, but you get money and credits and whatever with the power. Like and so. It's all starting to be shown here. When Obi-Wan shows up at Kamino and has the battle with Jango, like it's such a well put together in the water, like, and especially seeing Kamino when we're so used back to we talked about the single biome planets, but this one made sense to me. If we all started from water, it would make more sense to me. There would be a planet of water, right? Like really, and we never saw it till then. The Kaminos are such an interesting looking, like visually, like
that design is incredible.
Yeah, and their base or their home cities and stuff, the flowing etherealness of it, almost like high elves from fantasy in a weird way.
Yeah,
And
their
the
movement is like it
echo,
flows. Their voice
Yeah.
patterns flow. So
Next
again, it's that all
one.
those water motifs.
Yeah, like
Now,
it's
question,
so good. It blows my mind.
in episode 1, when they show the council and there's the one Jedi there, I think it's Yardell Poof, or where he's
Yardell Poof.
the long neck. Is he Camino, or
I don't know.
are they just kind of similar?
No, he's not Kaminoan.
No.
He's not. No. Okay.
No.
Yeah. But they took that idea of the long, slender, long neck.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I think you can see it in Suru from Discovery, Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
I feel, especially with how he moves his hands, like Doug Jones moves his hands, I feel that's it. The Camino design escape in Star Wars and starting to like touch other things. Like we started with Lucas and how he influenced everything that is cinema between 77 Star Wars to because especially 77 was the studios are dead and it's auteur time, and then Jaws and Star Wars proved that wrong. And and then now here we are again. We got digital, and you can, especially in the early ones, he's so confident in this tech that I'm willing to just lose all my money to this because I know I'm right. Like, this is not even like, I know I'm right. And then
non-linear editing, everything came out of.
We have the volume now that they're using for Mandalorian, and they knew they were right then too because everything's using that thing now. Like,
I completely forgot that non-linear editing is what this was. This is when you didn't have to go reel to reel or deck to deck to go. Okay, here we go.
And it's total freedom and speed and you can have multiple editors working on things all the time, and yeah, it's
embracing the technology to help tell your story. I think we always have it's when the technology is so. I'm a huge David Fincher fan because he tends to blend the tech into what he does, use it to tell the story. And Lucas is a pioneer of this, like really is, where he's like, can I make my story better with this? And there's behind the scenes interviews where he's like, I thought of this, but I thought it would distract, so I didn't do it. And so you can see he's very cognitive of what is and isn't in favor of the movie. And that's saying no to stuff, especially when you have that much money and power with a franchise as big as Star Wars. That, like, part of me thinks that's missing nowadays, not to jump that far ahead, but I think when you look at how tight Attack of the Clones is, when they're dropping in and the ships are being blown up and there's real stakes here, like just before the Colosseum battle there, where they're trying to rescue everyone, like Naboo felt small but big. This feels big because it's big, and that's I think the first time we really see it in Star Wars. Like, truly see it outside of ship combat, really. So
yeah, you're actually seeing like a body count happening.
There is stakes beyond just who wins this magical force thing, right?
Like, I mean, we got that even with the image I chose for our background. You get just all those droids in the background and Jango and Boba Fett there, and how does Jango's head not just
one
fall
of the things
out?
I'd like to point out.
The shadow.
The shadow.
Yeah.
They added the shadow to show that it goes.
Yeah, to get it out of there. But Boba Fett was a little bit of a weirdo when Jango was fighting Obi-Wan on the platform. He was just like, yeah. He was just like really rooting for his dad to murder somebody. But
it's like, the bloodlust in this one.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a weirdo.
We got so much hate for young Anakin, but young Boba Fett just gets a pass.
I'm currently watching Battlestar 2004. I think that is. One of the things is how robotic the Cylons are. But between the quippiness of even the B1s, the Roger stuff, a lot of people dismiss that, but it makes them feel more human. Like you just showed, like there's, we're focusing on the creatures and whatever, but robots are dying too. And in this universe, they are people treated second class. but especially, we don't serve those kind here, but like that kind of stuff. But tell me Star Wars isn't better because C-3PO and R2-D2 have a personality. Like it's not. And
R2's the hero of every scene.
Yeah, and those B1s and B2s you're showing here, like they honestly believe. Like I don't think it's yes, a program, but I believe there's an honest, like we are on the good side. And yes, it's easy because of robots to just dismiss them, but I don't feel it's that way as Star Wars. No, I don't. It's like a measure of a man for Star Trek. Like I believe every one of those robots could sit where Data sat and have a real conversation, and yet Jedi come in and kill them by the thousands. Like it's
too, because Obi-Wan in Dexter's diner, he has a quick line: "If droids could think, none of us would be here." Right? Like, so I think they do kind of touch on the idea of AI and droid sentience without really getting too into it. But yeah, it's funny, of all the episodes, this is one that they kind of do mention that.
And I think they also touch on the morality of the playing God with the clones.
The cloning, yeah.
Like, I don't know, has anyone here seen The Island? Ironically, Ewan McGregor is also in that.
Scarlett Johansson, yeah.
Scarlett Johansson, Michael Bay before he was obsessed with explosions. He did them tastefully.
With the island I think that's a really good point to bring up, Jess. Like that's a real ethical question that I think scientists now are discussing.
And that was relevant at the times. That was right around the time that they had cloned the sheep.
Dolly.
Yeah. And so that was a very relevant conversation that was happening of like, should we be, is there a soul if you believe in souls in these, and I think this opened the door for what was beautiful about the Clone Wars animated.
And I think we see more of that in the next one, because we don't really, for me, this one introduced both cannon fodder. So all the B1 droids were cannon fodder, and unfortunately all the clones were cannon fodder, because it was always, sir, yes, sir, da-da-da-da. Next, they were all numbers. They did it. Again, cannon fodder. The next one for episode 3, that's when we get to see Cody. And that's when we get to see people talking. So that's when you went,
and individuality.
Right. You start seeing a little bit more individuals, and there's a little bit more agency on them. And then absolutely when we get into Clone Wars, the animated series, I think that's when we started seeing.
This one is where you kind of see them as children, though. And I think that when he's watching, because I think that for me is the advanced aging that you're seeing in this one. So yes, they become human in that one. But in this one is when you're seeing people who look like Boba, like young Boba, sitting there and training and doing all this stuff. And they're like, they'll age really fast. And so you're like, you've got that where it's like, so
is that a reference to like child
war? And so that, so I think it kind of hit a little bit of that.
So episode 2, do B1s dream of cloned sheep? Like, is this like there's a lot here, and this is just Star Wars. Like, we always dismiss this, but like for the last about 20 minutes, we've really got into something here. Like there's some philosophical here that I think
that's hidden behind.
I don't know if any other. I think the Clone Wars TV show really digs into it because they have the time.
Yeah.
Andor does.
Well, they did that for like the get-go with Clone Wars, because you have Plo Koon kind of saying when one of the clones, one of the first episodes, saying, we're just cannon fodder or whatever. He goes, we're just clones, we're disposable. And he's like, not to me. And it's like, that was like the first time you heard these are humans, these are people, that kind of thing.
Sure. And you see it again. The haircuts seems like such a minor thing, but it's personalization, individuality outside of it's how they are expressing themselves within the boundaries of what they can do, right? I'd be curious if like underneath one of the armors they're wearing like a Pearl Jam shirt or something. I don't know. Maybe they're wearing like a Mos Eisley like Cantina band Zip Biff or whatever I can't remember his name. But,
I did like they showed, like, again, going Clone Warsy, is the tattoos. But they started showing more of the tattoos on all the different characters, and Bad Batch and all that, to be I was cloned the same way as you, but I'm gonna do this with my body instead.
And I'm wondering if it's loud because it's cosmetic and doesn't interfere with their duties. Like a tattoo is not going to stop me from shooting a B1, right? Like it's a haircut is not going to get in the way of me.
You see that with twins all the time too, where like sometimes twins really want to be the same, and sometimes they couldn't be more different. And so there's always going to be like individuality.
When you order 200 million twins, there's going to be some individuality in there. You know?
Well, and then you've got the debate of nature versus nurture within that as well. Of
and specialized programming too for like pilots. These guys are this, that.
And you say programming because literally the other side is specialized programming. Like it's literal programming. But
literal programming versus biological.
DNA.
That like debate is always like, stuff like this I don't think gets talked about enough, especially when it comes to this episode too. So
and I think it's been a great discussion today about all of that. And you guys have been wonderful. We've only got a couple of minutes left here. So
poor Dave hasn't said much.
No, that's okay. I am happy to just let the conversation happen.
See where it goes.
Yeah, I already know I didn't gather this group so that I could talk the whole time. I gathered this group because you all know what you're talking about and are so eloquent. And I'm so grateful to have you guys on this show.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
We didn't say the Manchurian sentence. Quickly, what was the name of the doctor? Doctor Who? I can't think of it. And then Dave is supposed to chime in and be like, "Oh, it's this guy." No, it's
which Doctor Who?
Yeah, see. Now he wants to kill the president. So like it's. If you haven't seen Manchurian Candidate, that's the plot of Manchurian Candidate. Spoiler for a 50-year-old movie.
Yep.
So
Scott, since you're giving us the jokes off right now, why don't we start with you? Where can we find you, and what's something that's making you happy, real quick?
Okay, so I don't know if you see the little thing. I run like a satire news thing, like The Onion. I'm one of the people who do that. We put up some stuff. So I follow the news a lot. Like it's right now the problem I'm having is as I'm a Canadian, so I'm trying to find more Canadian, but a lot of the stuff coming out of my southern, let's be honest here, Americans, we're twins, we're brothers. This is the way it is.
Do it.
Yeah, it's just I don't like. I have family down there. It is what it is. But what I brought it up earlier is as I read the news, how many strong female politicians right now who are standing up being like, "This is wrong," and I've never lived through a time, and hopefully I never will after whatever this is, where we have like Princess Leia's and Mom Mothra's and Padme's right now in life, standing up to Palpatines and Grand Moff. I was about to say Grand Moff, another T word, but Tarkin, and like
but those two people have brains, so
well, that's because they're British and American, but it's but yeah, no, it's a heated time in the galaxy right now. That isn't so far away, but it's seeing people come together and reading a lot of this, like coming together to try to just say no. As I'm picturing this, Avengers 1, when he's in Germany and the guy stands up and goes, "I've seen people like you before. Like you don't scare me." And we're seeing that happen, especially at a time when the laws are changing so fast in a very dark way, where these people could disappear like a Palpatine would or whatever. It gives me hope, new hope, one might say. So to bring it back, but that's what's bringing me a lot of happiness. Are my cats. Ooh, there's one right there. Being on podcasting and talk to everyone again is great to see Cameron and Jess and meet Melian. I got Meline in my head now from the conversation, and so like as you can see, I stop in the hamster roll. But It's been yeah. It was the Christian thing about Malene that is stuck in my head right now. But it's
Mel
been
works.
it's been and seeing like again, we're all North American at this point, but we're all coming together for the love of this thing that is about going up against exactly what we're going up against.
Exactly.
Some of us more than others, but that's what's bringing me happiness. I have hope. I really do.
There we go. And Melanie, where can we find you and what's making you happy?
Well,
it can be lighter. It can be lighter than that.
Yeah, I'm a little rough on that one.
No, so you can find me on my Instagram is Pieces of Melee. That's my personal one. I haven't really posted much to it lately. You'll see more on Diamond Tech Crafts, CRAFTS. That's my full-time job, which is stained glass.
What is it again? Sorry.
Diamond Tech, TECH, and then Crafts, CRAFTS.
Oh, was tech chosen for a reason?
No, that was actually just happened to be the company I work for.
Darn it.
Run.
I mean, yeah, that was totally on purpose.
Yeah, so you can kind of find me here more than anything these days, because I'm an importer of record. So when our Palpatine within my area decides to throw a temper tantrum and write on a piece of paper that a number of tariffs go up, something I ordered in October of last year gets dinged.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go ahead and contact me here and send as much Excedrin migraine as you'd want. So to find those happy places that I desperately need, right now the Bad Batch is their comic Ghost Agents is out right now. It's just a 4-part series. They've already got the 3rd one out, so that's been making me happy. It's it's supposed to be monthly, but I think it's every other month. It really hits my comic shop where I go up and be happy. Other than that, I had just come back from Star Wars Celebration, and I went to Japan, so I'm still living off the dream of maybe someday moving there because it's so much nicer. Look, my Star Wars Celebration patch.
Cool.
So yeah, I've been even on my other, both of them. I've been trying to post photos and stuff like that. Last happy thing is I'm excited, and this is complete tangent since we like to go off the rails. I got tickets to Baby Metal, who are going to be in Tampa, so I'm extremely excited to go see them.
Nice.
And Bloodywood are going to open for them. So sorry, my happy little metal self is happy.
Happy is good.
It. And Black Veil Brides, I think, are opening. Oh, anyway, there's my happiness.
There you go. We like happiness. Cameron, where can we find you, and what's making you happy?
Yeah, I mean, my letterbox is up there. You're going to see I watch a lot of Star Wars over and over, so I always put up my thoughts on those. And what brings me happiness? On Apple, there's a little show called Fraggle Rock that has 2 seasons and a holiday special, and it always brings me happy. And people I get to work with on that always bring me joy. And obviously, Andor season 2, if you haven't watched it yet, it's really something special from the Star Wars universe, and even just from the television universe. It just really strikes a chord with a lot of the things going on, not just in past politics but current politics, and great storytelling, great setup. It almost creates a little mini trilogy between Andor, Rogue One, and A New Hope, kind of another little mini trilogy you can enjoy in the middle of all the everything else. And then on HBO, The Rehearsal season 2 it just ended, and it was unbelievable, hard to describe, hard to categorize. Is it a singing competition? Is it a documentary? Is it a comedy show? Is it the most important piece of future legislation in if you haven't seen it, try to watch it. I don't know, I'm still kind of reeling from the finale, and it's terrifying and beautiful and shockingly genius, and that brings me lots of joy. And obviously my family and my puppy and all the fun stuff here always brings joy.
Excellent. And Jess, where can we find you and what's making you happy?
I'm on Instagram, Song1 Cosplay. Similarly to Melanie, I have not been posting a lot, but I post some, and I've got some really fun stuff that I've posted over the years. So a lot of it's cosplay and everything. And then things that are making me happy right now. I just wrapped a show at the Orlando Fringe Festival. It was my first one, and I was in it, and it was a show where I got to do a whole different range of accents and characters, and there's not a lot of media where you get to perform and actually like stretch your acting skills. So it was really fun to be a part of and to be able to actually be multiple characters with multiple accents all within one show. So I'm still kind of on that like high of that. So that one was just a blast. So that one's bittersweet because we did wrap last night, but I'm still on that high, so I'm writing it. And what about you, Dave?
Me? Well, you can find me on my regular channel, the Rat Hole DOTCA, where I do board gaming stuff. I do live playthroughs, some reviews. We have a miniature painting segment that we do on there as well. And of course, you'll be able to find me every month here on the Happiness Patrol channel, which I just realized I didn't have a thingy for. So now that's spelled wrong. We'll fix that. Look at that. YouTube.mcom. No, that is incorrect. Fine, folks. There we go. Right here on the channel that you were theoretically watching, youtube.com/@Happiness Patrol Show. You'll find me here every month with these fine folks being happy. And honestly, what's making me happy? This is getting this rolling, having people like you at home watching and hopefully enjoying what we are doing, both on my regular channel, here on Happiness Patrol. I also do the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. If you like Doctor Who, you can look us up there. We've been reviewing all of the current Doctor Who episodes. I've been doing 1 a.m. Mountain Time watch parties.
Oh my, what?
So thankfully, I'm not. I'm sad that the season is basically over. I am not sad that I'm not going to have to do that anymore.
I don't blame you. The season is unreal, amazing, but
yeah,
dear Lord, sir,
it's been rough. But it's been a ton of fun. So you can find me in any of those places, and those are the things that I make that are happy. With that being said, I'm going to put this banner back up because we don't have a closing theme any more than we have an opening theme. So
look how happy that is. Such a happy photo.
Exactly. It's a happy photo.
But cool, I got a new suit.
Here's a happy bit then. Based on this photo.
I think it really sums up Star Wars at this point, actually. In that, you've got. We know what happens with that helmet. Hey, new suit, which is funny, by the way. And you got all these dead droids. You have and you're like, there's a lot of uncertainty, and I think this photo really shows it.
So. I was gonna kazoo out, but honestly, at that point, we'll just not.
I'm only here for the kazoo.
Oh, okay. Please don't sue us, Disney.